I'd really like to know over here, because a lot of our listeners who are maybe teens, or they are like in early 20s or even in late 20s, or even who are doing in the second innings in their life, which is so amazing. We are, most of us have been in a situation where we must have had good 3 or 4 or 5 years of career in a country, and then we want to move to a different place, and suddenly we need to establish ourselves yet again. You had the double challenge of doing that as well, doing that in COVID times. So if you can maybe walk us through that time, and just pick maybe 3 things that you could share. What was the most 3 difficult things that you experience, and how you overcame that?
That's a big question. During COVID. Um, I think that in terms of coming over, and like I said, no one knew who GAGAGO was. So I was just trying to figure out, okay, I know that there's a need, but how can I get out there? And I
Mhm.
think as well, during in COVID times, no one really wanted bullshit. No one wanted to be sold to. We all just wanted like human
Just leave us alone.
reaction. Yeah, I hope that's okay. I could say that.
You can, it's a safe space.
Yeah. So I think I was like, okay, do you know what? If people don't know who I am, then it's like I need to actually show them who I am. And so I did that through video, which I promise you, Ashani, I lived with my sister at the time, so I was very lucky that I had a soft landing to live with her. But I cannot tell you how many hours videos I spent doing the take over and over and over again. I've got some very funny outtakes. So I think that, like, overcoming that, which I really like, putting myself out there on LinkedIn was very uncomfortable, but it really did pay off because I felt like people got to know me or trust me, which I think is super important as well, obviously
Yes.
in recruitment. Um, what else in that period? I think just motivation. You know,
Yeah.
we there were days I remember, I won't lie about it, where you'd wake up and be like, okay, I needed to go out. I always I'm quite I'm quite into my exercise before work anyway.
Mhm.
So I was like, I need to get out, do that, but then I'd come back and I'd be like, right, what am I going to achieve today? And I'd be like, sometimes I would just be messaging and messaging and messaging, and you'd have nothing, or
Yeah.
you'd have one, and then it would change. It wouldn't be what, materialize into that. And so it was just
Yes.
like that self motivation. Sometimes you just be working from bed and be like, what am I doing? But actually, I learned to just celebrate just like the smallest things.
Yeah.
And I was, like I said, live with my sister, and I was very grateful that we had each other to just check in. I
Yeah.
think if you keep it to yourself and you don't share with other people what you're feeling, then you don't actually realize how much you have achieved in that time. It's very easy, I think, to give yourself all that negative self-talk and be like, you're not doing enough, you're not helping enough people, you're not, XYZ. When actually, if you talk to someone and say, yeah, I've done this, da da da, they're like, what? Wow. So I think that I learned to, yeah, share more, I think.
This is a great piece of advice as well, I would say. I like to kind of summarize these 3 things that you have mentioned for our listeners. So for anyone who's actually looking to start something new, and it's quite scary, but Camilla has really broken things down in the most natural form, I would say, because that's the most natural feeling that someone has. How do we start all over again? And the only thing is to just get out there and get started. There is no other way. I mean, that's the thing. You just need to get started. For Camilla, it was building her own brand, because that's what her profession requires. But honestly, that's something that is required out of anyone in these time in this time. I would say that building your personal brand is something that you really need to look into. But it doesn't necessarily have to be video. If that's something that really scares you, you can start really small. And but I would really give kudos to Camilla for doing that. And you are a natural, I would say. On I remember your post, when I think you did make a post saying that how many videos you made, and this was the one that I mean, the final video that you had put up, your first video, and it was quite an interesting video. It was in a portrait format that you had done something, and you had put your learnings out of it. It was so natural and it was so real. And it's a very important point. When you put your real self out there, people will really relate with you, and they will understand you. And once they know that you are genuine and you have nothing to hide, it's easy for people to communicate with you. The next two things that you mentioned: achieve small, celebrate small achievements, and the third most important thing that you mentioned was to express. And if you don't, you really fall into this, really negative loop, that self talk, negative self talk loop